All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back, and this is going to be episode number 2 of Book Breakdown, and we're going to be doing it on this book right here, once again by Mr. Gary Vee, The Thank You Economy, and this book came out on March 8th, 2011. The suggested retail on this is $27 US and $34 Canadian. It also has 240 pages, so let's get into it. So coming off the banger that was Crush It, that you can see right here, that he dropped in 2009, 2 years later, he comes back with this right here. And I can summarize this book in pretty much, give or take, 4 words. And it's care about the consumer. You have to care about the consumer, and you have to make that your number one priority. In this day and age, it doesn't matter if you're the only employee at your company or if you employ 10,000 people. If you show commitment and if you care about the customer and you show the customer that you care about them, then you will win. People will tell others, and they'll also return themselves and give you, return business. In this book, he talks a lot about erasing lines in the sand. And basically what that is like, it's basically a preconceived notion that, or somebody dismisses something because they don't think it'll be the next big thing, or they don't think it's worth investing in. And the scenario that he gave in the book was he went to a talk in New Jersey in 1997. And this was before, I think Amazon started in 1995. And this was before, obviously, Amazon got, to be like one of the biggest companies like today. Obviously, it was in 1997. And basically, there was a guy there, and he had a PowerPoint presentation, and he had a suit and tie on and all this kind of stuff. And, just like Gary said in Crush It, right there, back then, he was still like the wine guy. He was still working at his dad's wine store. He was still, just kind of figuring out how to sell and, the whole consumer part and all that kind of stuff. So he didn't really have much knowledge on it, but he saw that, with the progress of the internet or with the progression of the internet, that it would be the next big thing. And obviously he was right, because it turns into what it is today. You're watching this video on the internet, and that's how the cookie crumbled. But the guy basically said that Amazon isn't going to be that big, and it's just a fad, and it's just gonna it'll blow by and all this kind of stuff. And just like how I said in my last video, they probably said the same thing about TV. They probably said the same thing about radio, about movies, about Netflix. And I guarantee that executives at Blockbuster, they probably didn't see Netflix and streaming taking over, because they would have adapted their business model, and they wouldn't have gone out of business, right? But I guarantee you, somebody at Blockbuster said, oh, it's just Netflix and it's not going to be anything big. And obviously now Blockbuster is out of business. I think there's one left, in the States or something like that. I'm gonna try and find an article. I remembered reading an article on that, and it's the last Blockbuster to ever exist. That's the last one left. And there was they made a whole video on it. Anyway, if I find the article, I'll put it down in the description below. But the guy basically said that Amazon wasn't going to be anything, and it was just it was a fad, and it was just it'll pass by. So that was in 1997. Fast forward 20 years later, obviously Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the world. It's one of the most valuable companies in the world, and the guy was wrong. So I guess he didn't do his research. He didn't, do his homework, and I wonder where he is now. In this book, Gary also went on to talk about not dismissing social media, kind of like how he did in Crush It. And to be honest, I could have done without this section in the book, because he basically talked about, there was a whole section in this book that basically was the whole thing in Crush It. So if you kind of get what I'm saying, it's one chapter in this book was the whole of that book. So it's to me, it wasn't really needed, but at the same time, I understand why he incorporated it, because not everybody, that was his first book, right? So it's maybe people didn't know about it, maybe he didn't sell that good, it was his first book. Unless you have like a really good first book, then people don't really know. But once you put out the second one, then people will say, all right, you know what, I'm gonna read the second one, see what it's looking like. It's kind of like how with some types of media, like say movies, like the one that comes off the top of my head is the Transformers franchise. The first one, it did pretty well at the box office, and then the second and third ones made the most money because people probably just dismissed the first one, they didn't watch it, and they obviously saw the success of it, but it was too late to go see it in theaters, and then that got them hyped up. It got their attention for the second one. That's why they went to go see the second and the third one. So that's probably what happened with this book. I haven't looked up the numbers, like how many is sold or anything like that. But this I could have done without the social media section. But I see why he incorporated it, because people could have missed that from not reading his first book. He also touches on hiring like-minded people, similar to yourself, people that think like you. And but then again, the most important thing is always going to be caring about the consumer. But with all this going on in the book and caring about the consumer, like at this point in the book, that was all I was reading, was caring about the consumer. So in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, well, what about your employees? Like, shouldn't you care a little bit about your employees? But then it got to the point where it was kind of in the nick of time. As soon as I was thinking that, he kind of said that in the book. And basically what he said was that you also have to care about your employees. And he said that he cares about the customer, he cares more about his employees, and he cares more about both of those things than breathing. And those were his words directly. I'm not just saying that. Those were actually the words that were in the book and what he actually said. So it's definitely good to see that he's not just caring about the customer and neglecting his employees. He's giving them both equal attention, and he's kind of taking a step back from himself and caring about himself. He puts others before himself, which is a very good quality to have. And I feel that if your boss, your CEO, your manager, whoever, if they have that same mentality, then I think you're in a pretty good place. He then talks about quality versus quantity, and he says that you should always put out the highest quality product instead of more products, because then obviously when you put out more products, quality can suffer. So that's why it's better to put out less products that are better made, rather than more products with a lesser quality. Then people could get a defective one, people might not be happy, and then that just creates it creates friction between consumer and supplier. And then it's like, I don't know if I want to buy from these people anymore, because I might get a product that's it's subpar quality, and then it's like, well, why would I keep buying from them if I can find an alternative? The big thing about business today is the intention of companies. And what I mean by that is why people start companies. I truly believe that if you start a company with the sole purpose of making money, you're not going to be very successful. You might make money, but I don't believe that you should start a company with the intention of making money. I believe you should start a company with the intention of solving a problem that society has, or propelling society forward. I think that as a human, as the human race, we should always be looking to make progress, and whether that's through sustainable energy, whether that's anything, you can apply this situation to anything. When you have companies that only care about themselves or only care about making money, it's like they want to build the biggest building in town, but they want to rip down other buildings in the process, right? Gary says in this book, he wants to build the biggest building in town, but he wants to do it without tearing down other people's buildings. He wants to do it in a way that doesn't put down others. He wants to build it organically, right? He doesn't want to throw shade at other companies. Kind of like how Apple and Samsung, they're always going back and forth, kind of throwing subliminal shots at each other. With Samsung had commercials saying that how their phones last all day. And it's like it's a subtle jab It's like, Gary doesn't want to do that. He wants to build his company organically and not bring down anybody else. See, I feel like intentions of a company are a very important thing, because see, intentions create a pull. When your intentions are good, it meshes well with consumers and it brings consumers to you. You don't have to go out and find them. The best part of this book for me was just past the halfway point, because he talks about this strategy, I guess you could say, called shock and awe. And basically what it is you shock the customer by showing them how much you care, and then you leave them in awe by showing them how much you care. You're like, you're basically you're making their jaw drop with how much you care about them, how much you show that, and you showing that you're willing to go the extra mile just for them. So let's take this whole situation going on in the world right now. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So let's put a company in this situation. Let's say 3M, the people that make the masks, like the N95 masks, all the PPE, the personal protective equipment for doctors, hospitals, medical facilities, and all those other types of places. At this point in time right now, where we're at in the world dealing with this problem, I truly believe that the company 3M, they should be producing and creating and giving PPE products to hospitals for free. All right, now before you leave a dislike or before you leave a comment, just hear me out for a second. So here's what would happen. The 3M marketing team will get together and they say, you know what? We're gonna give hospitals and medical facilities and all these other types of places that are dealing with this crisis, we're gonna give them PPE for free. And then a bunch of executives and investors are gonna be like, well, why? That's stupid. Why would we do that? Why are we giving away free product? But here's the thing. Hospitals are in times of crisis right now, right? We can all agree. You've seen it on the news. You've seen videos of nurses, videos of doctors. You've seen people with like the imprint on their face, like from wearing their mask throughout their whole shift. We've all seen that. So they give it out for free, but regular consumers like you and me still buy them. So in that situation, consumers are still purchasing them. So if you're 3M, if you're the company, you still have a revenue coming in. So the first thing that would happen is that the news would jump on that so quick. It would be headlining all over the place. It would be on the internet. It would be everywhere. It would essentially become the talk of the town. And what does that mean for you? That means that your company is in a positive light, doing something positive, and now you have consumers talking about your company. I guarantee you that this strategy, after this whole thing is over, I guarantee you it'll pay off in the long run. It seems like a stupid short-term investment, and it's not a stupid short-term investment because you are taking a huge risk, but as the saying goes, slow and steady wins the race. Because like I said before, you get positive talk about your company in the news, and it shows that you're trying to push the envelope, right? Because I can almost guarantee if 3M did that, then say Clorox, the people that make bleach and they make, those Lysol wipes and, all those types of things. I guarantee you if 3M does that, then Clorox or Lysol or whoever will jump in with them and they'll say, okay, we'll start giving away wipes, or we'll start giving away, whatever else, right? Then you have all these companies stepping forward to eradicate the situation that's going on right now. And what are we all trying to do? We're all trying to get rid of this whole, we want life to go back to normal, right? People are bored inside. People don't know what to do. Everybody says that they're bored and they want to go outside and they want to do this and they want to go to have a party and all this kind of stuff, and they want to go to the park. And yes, right? But in order for that to happen, we all have to come together, and I can guarantee all that has to happen is one company has to step forward and be able or be willing to take the risk to say, okay, we're going to do everything that we can to get rid of this thing, and I can guarantee other companies will follow. Because if I'm Lysol and I see 3M getting, they're the talk of the town and they're getting all the positive attention, then I'm gonna say, well, hey, I want some of that positive attention too. And then both your companies are in the news for positive attention and doing something good, and then you're at the same time you're also getting rid of this whole thing that's going around. So it's a win-win for everybody. So it's like all that has to happen is one company has to be willing to take the risk. One thing this book taught me is that caring is the best thing that you can do, and caring for the customer, caring for others, is the best thing you can do, and that's outside of money. That's outside of business and everything else. And just like before, like I said in my last video, now's the time that we have to care. Now is the time that we have to show our compassion for others, and just come together as people, come together as one, and forget all the politics, and it doesn't matter what side you're on, or if like what color you are. It doesn't matter. Like none of that matters at this point. All that matters is all of us coming together and trying our best to deal with this situation and bring life back to normal as quickly as possible. This book right here, if you're into business, if you're into marketing, if you're into any of that, just like I said in Crush It, it's this one is definitely a good read. There's a lot of very good information in here, and I highly recommend it. If I had to give this one a rating, I'd give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. I am currently reading Elon Musk, as you can see back there. I'm about halfway done, so you could definitely expect that one to be on the channel soon. One last note: this took me about, I think, 2 to 3 weeks to read, because I was just getting back into the groove of reading. And yeah, so now this Elon one, I'm flying through this one because I actually really like it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So as always, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. It's very much appreciated. I've linked the book down below. I've linked everything else down below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching. Talk to you next one. The best part of this book for me was just past the halfway point. Now the sun decides to come out.